Not really. We'll
Morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's edition of the NBC Markets Morning Call. Good morning, Philip. How are you?
Good morning, Mark. How are you? Well, thank you.
Morning, everyone. Look, last night, and as you can see by the horrified looks on our face, which is, Groff did a pretty good job on that this morning.
Speak for yourself, yeah.
But stocks headed mixes of US debt hit 40 trillion. We've been flagging this for a while. And, I don't know why people are genuinely surprised about it, but what was really the big thing was obviously, Obama obviously added to it, and this is going back to 2002, Trump's first phase, particularly towards the end, as he was probably trying to pump the stock market up. Biden did not help in any way, shape or form, and then Trump has really... added to, as what we call added to the momentum on the uptrend overall.
Trend is your friend, yeah.
Well, in this case, trend is not your friend.
Yeah.
But look, there was an interesting fact. The US hasn't run a government budget surplus since Clinton.
Wow.
Which is what 90s, right?
Yeah.
So or 01, 02. Which is a bit horrifying. But look, they're not the only government in the world that's crap with money.
We're at $1 trillion.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think every government in the world basically is pretty crappy at it.
We've got a big bond issuance. We've got $4 billion coming out. 2030.
I'm tipping it won't be as oversubscribed as Google's kangaroo bond was yesterday, but. Certainly, that sweet spot at 7% that the hybrids are leaving behind is was it 5 times oversubscribed?
For 4 times, basically. $17 billion interest in I think it's $3 to $5 billion bond.
Good to be underwriting that one.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if they were concerned whether they're going to make the limit.
I don't know.
So, federal debt interest payments is now bearing on $1.4 trillion per annum. That is of massive concern, basically, and really, with the big beautiful bill, which is just a big beautiful tax cut for the elite, and I'm not getting left wing here. It just was. The tax revenue is not improving. They thought it was going to be tariffs. He's had to refund that, so that screwed that as well. So really, the only option left is, and we had Bessent do his second market intervention. In the last month, they did the yen intervention, basically to make sure that the Japanese didn't flee US bonds because they're the largest holders now. China's like out. That's why gold keeps going up. But the only option left on the table, and they're never going to say this publicly, is they are inflating their way out of this problem. So they're still printing money and they're buying back 30-year bonds. So we had gold up and gold miners up 5 to 9% last night. So that is the perfect recipe for gold. And basically where you've got intervention in the long end, in the long end 30-year, where they're trying to reduce those yields. And you've got basically a government which hasn't admitted, but by their actions has flatly admitted that's what they're going to do. They are comfortable with inflation, and in fact, that's their basically their goal.
They have no target. On the upside.
So they're printing money to pay off their debt, and they're going to inflate their way out of trouble, and that's why China has obviously has fled the US bonds. And look, the only reason the US dollar's hanging in here is because despite this being an absolute crap show, they're probably still the best in the one of the better in the world. And look, if we haven't printed money, and it doesn't really matter. It's supposed to be supply and demand, economics 101, and it hasn't worked for the Aussie dollar because
the Aussie peso.
Because it was, I think, they started printing money. The Aussie was at 110 to the US dollar. So. Anyway, enough about the broader global macro picture, because we've got to get into these the ASX stuff as well. We turned around yesterday. WiseTech wasn't a big help. They served as a subpoena with the ACCC. I think a bit of an overreaction personally, because the last time they did this, they ended up divesting the company. It didn't really matter. I was relieved to see that it wasn't a criminal subpoena. The ACCC does have a bad history of, getting a little bit stubborn and digging their heels in, and if if they don't get the maximum damage result against a certain company, they'll go after them again and again and again. But they've been publicly reprimanded for it because they had a massive loss one year. They're a semi-government authority, so they've got to the government ends up footing the bill when they go bad, but they went a little bit hard at some of the bigger ones. But look, we were up slightly in the US overnight, however, not by much. It really was. Healthcare was the big winner. Moderna, which we haven't heard that name since COVID times, but was up 177%, and then another 10% in the aftermarket overnight. And we've been, essentially that healthcare sector is just going gangbusters, and you can sort of see Eli Lilly was up 4%, obviously Moderna, Merck was up 13%, all-time highs. Looking at the rest of there was a big tone in the software stocks. I think ServiceNow might have been. Salesforce was up, and then there was a couple of the software names. Bit of negativity in the chip stocks, but not major. Broadcom down 4%. The defensive sector and healthcare sector, as we sort of flagged, 6 to 12 months ago. The Moderna's chart on a 5-year looks like a CSL sort of 2-year chart, except if you've got to move the decimal point one spot to the left because it was only up 17% the other day. But I would imagine with that result and then Merck hitting record highs and Eli Lilly being up as well, that a little bit of fund FOMO might kick in today and a bit of buying in CSL hopefully. Yesterday's results, Philip.
Look, we saw Breville down a bit. I think as we mentioned yesterday, Breville was hit by the US tariffs or whatever. Probably the interesting one was Stockland. I mean, who would have thought Stockland up 12% in the current environment?
Sorry, just to flag on the slides here, Whitehaven was not up 24%. It was actually down 2.7%.
Yeah,
that's on me. Sorry, go on, mate.
Superloop, they've traded quite well. Not a bad company. And Santos, of course, up. With the price of oil, obviously, ticking up over the last sort of 6 months or so.
Lottery Corp was mediocre. Whitehaven was down a little bit. I don't know what coal prices have been pretty good, but it's pretty hard unless there's like a frenzy on coal. But we looked at coal; it's performing nearly just as good as oil has over the period. If not better in periods. Today we've got Goodman, Fortescue, Northern Star, Brambles, Medibank, APA, Sonic, Codan and Telix, and that's just, and I cut at least three-quarters of the list.
I think Goodman Group's probably the one to sort of, I'd say Goodman and probably Telix. Goodman's, people don't underestimate how big it is. Like they've actually got 50 projects in 12 countries, 50 data centers, and people think it's basically a REIT, but it's got a lot more variables involved in it, So,
it's definitely not a REIT. I mean, 80% of their projects at the moment are data centers, or 78%. We did a little ranking this morning. So if you wanted to compare capacity, and it's always measured in gigawatts, against Nebius, CoreWeave, NextDC, Megaport, Goodman Group is by far clearly is the biggest. And we've got they've already got I think almost to the point of contracted, they're at 6.4 gigawatts contracted. That is 7 times larger than NextDC and 40% larger than CoreWeave. So, it's not gets talked about as a REIT, but it's probably the strongest physical data center play ever. And I've really liked it. I don't see why people, and hopefully they get excited about it today because it's pretty cheap.
It was actually down 4% yesterday. It was interesting before. So sometimes that can be a bit of it could be nothing, but who knows?
Who knows?
Telix.
I didn't really see what Telix.
It swung to a profit, I think.
Maybe it's a maiden profit.
Yeah, it is.
And they've got that FDA approval coming up in September.
Sonic with the healthcare,
Well, Sonic is obviously it's in that pathology and things. I think who was it yesterday that had a shocker in that particular space? I can't remember. But yeah, there was someone in that space yesterday where it did not go well. It was a $400 million loss or something. Helios, which is kind of in the same thing.
Yeah. Helios. Yeah.
Gold, silver, platinum up plenty last night. Bitcoin. A resurgence as a store of value.
Bitcoin is back.
Yeah, Bitcoin's back,
baby.
And Trump mentioned some stuff about crypto last night, particularly Hyperliquid, which is our sole crypto open recommendation at the moment. Hyperliquid. It's a crypto with a PE. It actually makes money. It's like a future. It's a blockchain futures exchange. It was up. It was up 30%, I think, last night. Shout out to Finju Dell for finding a useful crypto, not just a meme coin. And but I think what, as we sort of preluded at the start of the show, inflating your way out of debt and yield controlling the long end is basically, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, I reckon gold potentially makes, and this is an out on a limb call here, I reckon it makes another record high this year, 2026. I think that move below 4,500 was just hot money getting stopped out. They've just admitted that they're going to inflate their way out of trouble by proxy, and that yield control in the 30-year, it's a store of value wet dream essentially. And we'll have to ask Finn, but maybe Bitcoin's worth looking at, but who knows? We'll have to work out what the timing is on the crypto winter.
Yes.
So when you've got governments inflating their way out of debt, best thing for you to do is it probably makes the stock market less risky to the downside. So what you want to do is obviously use leverage to your advantage. Rare earths, critical minerals is happening at the moment. We're using the REMX US ETF, 24,000 for 100,000 exposure to that ETF, 2-year time frame. We would have it as an open recommendation anyway, but we figured, capital efficiency wise, to be able to put down a quarter of the capital and get essentially the same sort of exposure is a bit of a no-brainer. Go to npcinvest.co/critical_minerals, or if you go to the homepage, there's a button there with the same thing on there. As well, shout out to everyone who read my Livewire article, or if you haven't, go and have a read of it. Livewiremarkets.com. On the next phase of AI, which is a bit of a lead into our webinar next week. It'll be on the Tuesday. It got a really nice reaction so far, even a positive comment, which is unheard of in this digital age. I saw a comment came up and I went, oh God, what have I done? Go and check it out and have a read because pretty good thematic leading into and some lessons from 2001, that 96 to 2002 period. Where the next phase of this thing's going to go with AI. But thanks for anything particularly to watch out for today.
I think Goodman and Telix, I think.
Yeah, Goodman and Telix.
I think should be.
Codan might be interesting as well because it's gold and proxy and blah, blah, blah. But who knows, really? I mean, we haven't had a hell of a lot of time to be able to get through it.
And there is so much coming out.
And there is a lot coming out. So, but it should be a fairly positive day for the SPY. I mean, gold miners was up 9%. So that's going to help. That's obviously going to help as well. And we'll see what comes out of Fortescue. So, have a great day, everyone. And we will chat again tomorrow morning.
See ya.